Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I am joined by Coach Evans from Mary Baldwin University, located in lovely, scenic Virginia, right off the old Shenandoah corridor there. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So the whole purpose here is to let people get a little bit more intimate knowledge of programs, a little bit beyond what they're going to find on the website. So we won't dig into the boring stuff that people can find automatically. But so let's talk about your recruiting and how you guys go about that. So when do you start usually hearing from players in terms of like what year are they in high school? When do you usually start watching players?
Sure. So, as far as hearing from players, really, we can hear from them anytime. We have recruiting camps that we do pretty regularly, and that generally is, freshman year on up. As far as how we target and what our timeline looks like, generally we target players their junior year. So that's when we're trying to contact them, trying to get them to come for a visit with the hope that they're actually committing by the before the start of their senior year. So that's kind of what our timeline looks like. So for example, right now we're in the spring. So I'm talking to juniors, having juniors come visit, offering juniors positions, but I'm also going to tournaments and looking at sophomores so that I can start to kind of see who I want to contact next year. And then I'm also maybe looking at a senior here or there if I have a spot or two on my roster that I want to slide into.
Okay. How many inbound contacts do you think you get in like a week or a month from potential prospects?
A lot, especially now that we're winning. So I would say probably at least 5 to 10 a day of players reaching out. And it's hard because sometimes, they're really specific emails and you can tell that, they looked on the website, they actually are interested in you versus it's a blanket email that they probably sent to like 100 other schools. So, and then there's also recruiting sites that send us a lot. So I probably get another, 30 to 50 emails from recruiting sites sending me kind of random players as well that you have to filter through. So generally though, when a player emails me, depending on what year they are, I reach back and right away I ask them to fill out our recruit questionnaire because our recruit questionnaire puts all of their information into our recruiting system. So that way they don't slip through the cracks. I can keep track of them. There's a link for that on our website as well that they can fill it on their own. But generally, if they reach out to me, the first thing I'll have them do is fill out that questionnaire.
Makes sense. What are some of the things, you mentioned the tailored email versus the blanket, but what are some of the things you like to see in that first communication from a recruit?
Yeah, so it doesn't need to be lengthy. A lot of times players like that first paragraph of I've been playing since I was 6 years old. And that, if you're reaching out to me, then obviously you're passionate about soccer. You don't need to defend that to me. So for me, what I'm looking for is a player that, even just one paragraph that says, I'm interested, a few things off your resume. I played ODP, I play for this club. I've been playing club for this many years. We recently won this tournament. Those are, okay things to throw in. And then I usually like to see something about the school. For example, if you say, I'm really interested in your nursing program. Well, we don't have nursing. And I get so many emails about people who want to be nurses. And so for me, that's wasting your time and my time. So, you have to make sure that you're specifying something like, oh, I really like Stanton and where you're located, or I was looking at your schedule and I saw you guys had a really good season. Those are the kinds of things just to make a point that you did some research. And then next would be like a video link. We really like to see video and any upcoming tournaments you're in, because then we're going to make a point to try to see you play.
So in that video, are you mostly looking at clips or are you hoping for full game film too?
So for me personally, I'm looking for clips to see kind of if I want to take the time to go out and watch them. Because I will watch a player play in person before I offer them a spot on the team. So for me, the clip allows me to see if I'm going to take the time to, try and see them play. Or sometimes the clip, I'll look at it and be like, they look strong. Maybe they could. So I'm still going to go take a look at them because the video I don't think is showing me what I need. Or I'm looking at the video and I'm like, they don't quite have the speed that I need for this position. So it's just not going to work out. So it just depends, like I said, on that, but definitely highlight videos. I don't have time to sit and watch a whole game, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense. So you talked about going to see players in person and looking at tournaments. What are some of the tournaments that you go to? Where do you spend a majority of your time when it comes to recruiting? Are you checking out any, like, it's a big question these days, does high school soccer matter anymore? Where are you usually seeing players at?
I think first off, I'll plug for high school soccer. I think high school soccer is actually really important. I don't think that high school soccer is great for exposure, but what it is great for is really helping you prepare for college, because in high school soccer, you're practicing every day. You have a tradition, you have a mascot, you have a culture, and that's not something that you get at the club level. At the club level, you get to go to the tournaments and you get the really competitive, maybe sometimes more competitive play than high school, but you don't get the culture of what it means to be on a team the same way. So I think it's really important to do both personally. And then as far as, where I'm going and looking at players, it depends. If they're a local player, yeah, I'll just go catch a high school game. If I can drive over there, why not? To me, a good player is going to stand out regardless. It doesn't matter, what game I'm watching. However, as far as tournaments that I target, they can change from year to year, again, depending on interest. If I'm getting a lot of people contact me for a certain tournament, I might take the time to go check it out. Budget is obviously a part of that, but the ones that I tend to hit is Bethesda Showcase. Disney Showcase is a big one for us. Occasionally the ECNL Showcase, and then the NCFC Showcase in Raleigh. Those are our really big ones. And then we also do WAGs and the Jefferson Cup and the Richmond FC as well. So Richmond's only an hour and a half for us. So if there's games around there, we'll go check them out. However, I'm also grew up in Wisconsin and my mom lives in Chicago. So, I went to a tournament in Chicago this summer, hung out with family, that kind of thing. And then we also have family in Vegas, Utah, and California. So we often go out there and check some tournaments like the Mayor's Cup and some of those other ones. So yeah, it just depends on the year and kind of what we're targeting. But I would say right now, our school is half in-state students and half out of state. So we do have a really good mixture, and we're ranked as one of the most diverse schools in the country, as well as one of the safest schools in the country. So we attract a lot of people because of that. And one of the things that I've found, our team kind of matches the demographics of the school. We're a very diverse team. We come from all parts of the country, as far away as Puerto Rico and California. But I would say the bulk of my players in Virginia come from the Virginia Beach area. And we also have a large population of players from Florida. So.
Yeah, I saw that, which is interesting because that's where I am. I'm down in Bradenton right now, but I did see you have a player from my old hometown of Bristow, so that's great. So do you have a set number of players you try to bring in every year, or does it just vary based on what you're graduating?
Sure, it varies based on what we graduate. Also, we're in a unique situation that we have been rebuilding the program. So how we recruited 2 years ago is very different than how we're recruiting this year. But generally, if you figure you keep about 35 players on a roster, 4 of them goalkeepers, so you're looking at about 30 players. If you're going to maintain that, you're looking at recruiting 8 to 12 players every year pretty consistently. So generally our numbers fluctuate based on the positions that we have. I don't believe in over rostering. I don't want to bring players here that I don't think are going to be able to contribute. I don't think it's fair to them. And I don't think it benefits the team because it takes time away from the whole group. So that's why with our 30, we travel as a team. We do everything as a team because that's just kind of the culture that we have here. So As far as how many I recruit, it depends on how many positions I have from year to year. And that's why I kind of made that comment that once in a while I'll have 1 or 2 spots open up late for seniors, because maybe somebody decided that, they don't want to continue with the program or something like that. And so those positions can kind of open up late sometimes, which is why I'm not opposed to talking to seniors and communicating with them, because a lot of times we end up having an opportunity for them. At the same time, I'll always make room for a player if I think that they're going to come in and make a big impact. We have 4 goalkeepers, for example, this year, and I had a 5th one contact me, and she's like, I really wanted to commit. And I told her, I think you're a great player. It's been great watching you, but unfortunately I just don't have the space. And she said, you know what? I want to come to that school. I want to compete. I've been competing my whole life and I don't care. I'll do it. And I'm not going to say no to somebody that wants to work and wants to be here. Right. So,
Yeah. So, you mentioned, sometimes you get those late openings, et cetera. How do, say, transfers and walk-ons kind of fit into the equation at your school?
Sure. So we do a walk-on tryout. But so far we haven't, I guess, found a lot of success with it, because to me, if somebody wants to walk on, they're going to contact me in the spring probably anyways, or at least in May, which still gives me time to go see them. Especially because we have summer camps and things like that they could come to and we could take a look. So we do offer a walk-on tryout for players that, want to do that. And, usually there's 1 or 2 spots open to pick someone up. Again, if we feel like they have the right work ethic and mentality and skill level, then we'll find room for them, especially if they're already here and they want to be here. So as far as transfer students goes, we're always open to transfers. So I think maybe because I was a junior college coach for a long time, I understand the benefits of a player who went to, say, a junior college or somewhere else and kind of had to figure their way out and decide what they want. And sometimes when they come here, they know what they want. They're more focused, they're more mature. And so there's benefits to having those players come in as well.
Okay. So when it comes to, checking out players both as a player and off the field, kind of seeing grades and all those kinds of things, what is it that you are looking for in a player? Let's start on the field. Is it their athleticism, soccer IQ, technical ability? Like what's your priority list, I guess, when you're looking at a player as a player?
Sure. I think that part of that is somewhat positional. There's certain things that we're looking for positionally, but as a whole, for one, character is really important to me. I want players that I can help mentor to, just be strong young women and have the right kind of mentality. And for us, our team culture is really important. We want our players to get along. We want us to be a family. And so, if that kid on the sideline is, yelling at their parent for not bringing them a Gatorade, you notice that stuff. So definitely, I think that attitude on the field too is really important. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't get passionate on the field. We want to see that. But they have to show that, they're not going to lose control or be disrespectful. Right. So, but as far as, what we're looking for on the field, though, one of the biggest, I think, challenge transitions, there's 2 that I see moving from, 18 into college. And that transition is, number 1, the speed of play. So even though when you're in the college game, it feels like things are moving slower, you only get 1 touch or 2 touches, and you have to be able to have a good first touch and to be able to make decisions quickly. And so that speed is really important. And then the second thing is aggressive. Usually the first 2 weeks of the season, there's always a freshman that gets knocked down hard and you just kind of yell, "Welcome to college," because, it's
Yeah, absolutely.
you're up against adult women that are 4 years older than you. So the transition into the college game is definitely the speed of play and that aggressive, ability. So we look for that when we're recruiting players. As far as center mids, we want center mids that are creative, but can also win balls out of the air. For defenders, we want people who are patient and know how to play angles. For forwards, we want people that just want to go to goal, and just kind of have that fire. Outside mids, we want them to be looking to go to goal, but also to have the leg to switch it and take players on. So there's all different parts of the field that we're looking for, but I would say speed, aggressiveness, and attitude are big ones for us.
Okay. You mentioned, you got players from all over, and you mentioned Puerto Rico. So does your school have a large international population? Are you recruiting internationally at all?
Well, as I said, we're kind of in rebuilding years, so I haven't really built up that international network yet. However, we're open to international students. If a student is coming from Ontario, Canada, they actually get financial aid that they would get in Ontario here as well. So if they're a Canadian Ontario resident, then they would get their OSAP here. And then, of course, everyone gets financial aid that's in a U.S. territory like Puerto Rico or that area. So as far as international students, though, our international students get the same academic scholarships as everyone else. So the school actually has amazing academic scholarships. And so we are not opposed to recruiting international students at all. I think that diversity on the team is really important. And so I really welcome that. So yeah, we're always open to that. As a player myself, I played college in Hawaii, and a third of our team was international. So I definitely know the benefits of, growing and building a relationship with people from all around the world. So
awesome. Well, let's transition a little bit and let's talk about the school itself. I think I've driven through Stanton before, but just on my way somewhere else in Virginia. You mentioned the safety of the campus, but what I would say, what are the three things that your school's most known for that maybe they're not going to find on the website, right?
Sure. So I think one of the things that make our campus really special is it's like a very pretty campus. It dates before the Civil War. It's very historical, but it's on a hill, so it has the views of the mountains and the town, and it's a block away from Main Street. So you kind of get that like small town campus, but not in the middle of nowhere. It's right in the middle of town. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds as far as kind of like location and beauty and scenery. Because we're so close to the mountains, we're like 10 minutes to the Appalachian Trail and all of that. So waterfalls, that kind of thing. So it's just a really amazing area to be in. I moved here from Southern California, and we love it here. So it's a great place to be. So that's one of the, really big ways that the school stands out. Another way I would say is that for a small school that we are, we have the common things like small class sizes that a lot of other small schools have, but we have a lot more majors than most small liberal arts schools. So definitely take a look at the majors that we offer, and a lot of them are accelerated. A teacher, for example, can get a 4-year degree, but they can, in that 4 years, they can actually also get their master's. So they'll leave here after 4 years with an undergrad and a master's degree. Wow. And we also have a 5-year MBA program. But we have a nationally ranked PT and PA school as well. So a lot of people come for like the pre-meds and the health sciences as well. So we just have a really diverse offering for majors, which also really sets us apart. And then, another big thing that I think the school has going for it is just a really rich history. And in a sense, it's a history that we've been trying to change in the soccer side, because the history of soccer here has not been good. But the school itself, it's over 100 years old, and it just, it used to be an all women's college. So even though they're co-ed now and, they're a regular university, they still kind of, really empower women, and that's really important to them. And that's kind of in their core. So they have a lot of leadership opportunities there as well. That a lot of schools don't offer. So, and, kind of going back to the program, for a couple of decades, the program really struggled, and to the point where they actually canceled the women's soccer program. And then the school went co-ed, they rebranded everything, and then they hired us to relaunch the program. So we just finished our 3rd NCAA year, and we got to the 2nd round of playoffs. So our expectation next year is that we're fighting for a conference championship. So it's a great time to come here and be part of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So at your school specifically, how do you feel that the students balance that sport and academic lifestyle, the commitments on both sides?
Sure. So, I always say there's two main reasons that players don't play soccer at the next level. One is because they just think they're not good enough. For some reason, they put it on this big pedestal. And, the reality is there's a place for you to play if you want it. And then the second thing is that they're concerned about balancing their academics with soccer. Well, for us, that's not an issue because I was actually a teacher for 10 years. And for fun, I teach a class or two in the education department here on the side. So, as far as academics go, we are prioritizing that. And that's also kind of the Division III philosophy. But also we recognize, you have a whole future ahead of you that's not just soccer. And we want to make sure that you're prepared and ready for that. And so we want players that are coming in that are academically focused and goal oriented, because they also tend to be good soccer players that are focused and goal oriented.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but it is stressful. It is scary to, think about college and balancing all of that. So some of the things that we do, we have a team study hall every week. We also have a student success center where we can pair you up with a tutor for every class. And our players do 4 hours a week in our student success center, where we also have a quantitative center and a writing center and a career center. So all of that's kind of all encompassing. Academic advising, we communicate directly with. One of the great things is that we use Canvas as our online platform for our courses. And I actually have access to all of my players' Canvas. So I can see if they didn't hand something in or if they're late. I can see their attendance. So I can kind of see everything I need to see also to keep everyone motivated to stay on track. And but we have like 6 honor students on our team, so academics is really important, and we've been boasting some of the highest team GPAs in the program's history, so that's definitely a priority. But I don't just tell you have to get good grades. I make sure that you have the support to do it. So
No, that's awesome. So what does a typical kind of game day or even a non-game day look like for players in terms of timing and that sort of thing?
Sure. So generally we have a midweek game and a Saturday game during the season. So obviously those days will be very different. Saturday games is kind of like we'll eat breakfast as a team. We'll come into the gym and take a bunch of foam rollers, blast the music, and just have a good rollout, and then kind of break off and come back for game time. During the week, obviously everybody has class, but we generally have our games, in the late afternoon when people don't have class. So we really, really try to consciously create a schedule that makes it so you're not missing class. Our professors are really great about excusing you if you have to for a game. Obviously, we have really good relationships with our professors in our departments, but we also, want you to be in class as much as possible. So we do really try to keep that in mind. And so does our conference. Our conference actually makes our longer road trips on the weekends on purpose, so that, again, less missed class time. But as far as, a regular school day, you go to class, and then after that, you're going to come and you'll possibly do some game day ready stuff with the trainers and things like that. And then, transition into the locker room where we'll have a chat before we go out for warm up. I'm a big music person, so there's always music going somewhere in the locker room or whatever to kind of get us refocused and ready for the game. We do, scouting reports usually the day before the game. So we'll have a breakdown of the team we're playing, maybe show some clips, stats, things like that. So that, when you go into the game, who you're watching out for, what to expect, and, how we're gonna win it. So.
Okay. Now you mentioned your longer road trips tend to be on the weekends. I mean, what's your, I guess, typical radius? How far do you guys generally travel?
Sure. So the USA South Conference is one of the larger conferences in the country. So we're spread out a bit, but we are the most northern team in the conference. So we only have 9 conference games. So the nice thing is that we have a lot of non-conference games that we can decide where we want to go. But generally our non-conference games, we stay within a 3-hour radius. So pretty much all of Virginia, Maryland, kind of those areas, but the majority of our conference is south of us. So the longest trip that we have is 5 hours. And that's usually going to be an overnight trip where we'll go down the night before. And then a lot of our other trips are like 4 hours in kind of in that range. So again, though, we're only, if we have, 9 conference games, we're only playing 4 of those games away. So it's really our non-conference games where we're within a 3-hour radius.
Okay. Well, let's I guess continue talking more specifically about the team and kind of the soccer side of things. So, as a freshman, what should you expect in terms of playing time and how you fit in? I mean, I'm assuming you guys don't have like a reserve team or anything like that.
So we don't have a reserve team. However, I schedule reserve games because I have a roster of 30. Well, I keep a roster of 35 with goalkeepers. So because I have a roster of 35, I think it's really important for freshmen and sophomores to get more experience, because by the time you're a junior, we're going to be relying on you to, go to the national tournament, right? So you need to have that practice and preparation. So we usually have, anywhere from 3 to 6 reserve games a season where I know I'm going to be playing my second half of my roster again to kind of get those players playing time and experience. So although we don't have a roster JV team, because again, I don't want to roster, 50 kids. We make sure that we're still giving freshmen opportunities to grow and experience things. At the same time, though, a good freshman can come in and compete for playing time right away. That's one of the big benefits about having a smaller roster and targeting the athletes that we're recruiting. So, we have definitely, in the 4 years I've been here so far, we have had multiple freshmen starting in games. But again, we were transitioning, right? So now that we're getting a little more established and we can rely on our upperclassmen to kind of own it a little bit more and things like that, our freshmen don't get as much playing time. But again, it depends on the freshman that you are. Are you the one that's going to come in here and blow us away? And, I'm going to play the best player. It doesn't matter what grade you're in. So,
yeah, absolutely. So in terms of staff, how big is your staff? What kind of roles do they play for you guys?
Yeah, so we have an awesome staff that I'm going to talk about. I'm waving one of them over because, he's important. So we are actually a husband and wife coaching team.
Oh boy.
So my husband has been my assistant coach for 16 years. And so I'm going to have Tony say hi.
Hello.
Hey, Tony,
right.
how are you?
So Tony and I have been coaching together for a long time. We're a good yin and yang. He's like chill and calm, and I'm more uptight, I guess, is what probably people would say. But yeah, so I do have an assistant coach. Luckily I married him, so he's stuck here. And then we also have a graduate assistant, and usually at least 1 or 2 volunteer coaches as well. So we have a good coaching staff. Like I said, Tony and I have been together longer than we've been married. We've been coaching together longer than we've been married. So, so it's definitely, something that we are all in as a staff. We actually live a block away from the campus, because players come to our house for movie nights and team dinners and just to have a good cry sometimes. So we like to have our door open. We have 4 children of our own. And so, our house is, we're all part of the same soccer family here.
Nice. Very nice. So you talked about the yin and yang of laid back and uptight. Well, how would you describe your style of coaching and your team style of play?
So, I don't know. I think for myself, I'm just a really invested coach. I'm going to invest everything I have into you, but my expectation is that you're investing, everything you have into the program. Right. So, so for me, my coaching style, I am very against like swearing at players. I have some really harsh rules about language and how it should be used. And so for me, it's like, I tell my players, you're not allowed to swear at each other or on the field or things like that. And I follow the same rules. So, cause we're professional. So I'm never going to like down talk a player or anything like that. I just don't think that that's the way to go. But I do talk a lot during a game, but usually what I'm yelling is like, get a little wider or, pinch in, those kinds of things. That's usually what you're going to hear me screaming about on the field. So, that's kind of how I coach. Tony during a game, he's not yelling at all. Basically he and I kind of organize subbing ahead of time. And so he'll be the one to kind of like send players in for subs while I'm kind of coaching. And then as players come out, he'll pull them aside and chat with them about, so that they have an active analysis of, you know, what they need to improve on in the moment. So, so we really kind of team up with that. Like I said, we've been doing it long enough that we're kind of on the same page there. So, as far as off the field, like off the game field and into the practice field, for me, I think my job as a coach is to make my players better and to help them perform at their best. So if Jenny performs best when I'm like on her case, and Jane performs best when I'm just like really positive and just, then I feel like as a coach, I need to adapt to those players. So, you know, my coaching style, although it's pretty consistent, you know, I do make adjustments to players again to get the best out of them. So.
Okay. Well, you know, we're talking here in February, so it's not during the season. So what does your off-season program kind of look like?
So we have strength and conditioning. So right now our players are doing strength and conditioning 3 days a week. Pretty much they're doing strength and conditioning 3 days a week all year. Most of it is focused on injury prevention, you know, hips, ankles, knees, things that are problems next to prevent concussions. So we do get a lot of, you know, time in the weight room. And we coordinate that with a strength and conditioning coach, as well as our athletic training department. But then we also do specific things like if we want them to increase their speed, we're going to, you know, be focusing on that and agility and things like that within that program. And then because we're Division III, I'm not allowed to work with my players on the field during this kind of block time. So they are doing open gyms and captain's practices on their own, usually another like couple days a week. Study halls are still something that we do regularly. And then we still do our team events like a movie night and a game night and things like that, just to kind of keep us connected and all of that. We have our banquet usually. We're going to have our banquet in a couple weeks here. This year, we're going to have about 85 people just at our soccer banquet between players and parents and everything. So we have a lot of support, which is awesome. So yeah, so those are some of the things that we do during the off season on top of obviously recruiting. You know, I have a recruit coming and visiting tomorrow. So a lot of the players are going to be here to meet the recruit and things like that too.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this is the time for the last question. And this is just the catch all, you know, what else would you like prospects, parents, anybody to know about your program that we haven't covered so far?
Well, I do want to put a plug in for just recruiting in general that, you know, it's important that you find the school that's right for you. Don't go to a school because a coach is pressuring you or calling you every day. You know, you got to find the right fit because it's your choice. It's your future. So, you know, take the time to visit big schools and small schools and, you know, find out what you want and what you like, because that's just going to help you, you know, find your best fit. But with that being said, you know, what I like to kind of tell my players is if you're going to come here, you really need to make sure and think about that decision, because if you come here, you are stuck with us forever. I mean, we're talking, you know, firstborn, wedding, other way around, but, you know, wedding, firstborn, all of it. Like we are invested in you and you as a person for the rest of your life. And so, you know, that's the biggest thing for us is that here we build a family and a tradition. And so we welcome those of you who are ready to take it on and look forward to meeting you when you're ready to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time. Wish you the best of luck next season. And hopefully maybe I'll have to stop in on our drive north from Florida as we make our way up there. Check it out. All right. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Awesome. Thank you.